Hello everybody, my name is Charlie and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who YouTube video. So today then I'm going to do a brand new chapter of my fan series. I'm currently on Blood of Silver chapter 2. So this is the third story in my fan series with the third Doctor and Jo Grant. Quite fitting seeing as there's just been, well, a few hours ago, an announcement on the Doctor Who YouTube channel that the collection box set for the Classic Who seasons is going to be season 8, which I cannot wait to get. So yes, I thought it'd be quite fitting to do another video today on the third Doctor and Jo Grant. So yes, if you haven't watched Blood of Silver chapter 1, I'd recommend not watching this one because it won't really make that much sense. But if you just want to watch this anyway, which I really wouldn't mind, then essentially they've just arrived on Aka 10, they've looked around a bit, and basically they've just heard a noise which sounds an awful lot like a Cyberman. So yes, it's quite intense, and I'm really enjoying writing this as well. I genuinely think that my writing style has actually improved since Count Your Shadows, which was story 1, and The Horror of Skaro, which was story 2. I genuinely think I've kind of upped my game a little bit since then. So yes, this chapter 2 is going to be a little bit longer than the rest of the chapters, and basically, yeah, I really enjoyed writing this, and I'd love it if you like this video. If you enjoy, I'd really like a little bit of appreciation, and if you aren't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I'd really like it, and I'm so close to 50 subscribers, I can't wait to reach that milestone, and I will definitely publish a new video when I do. So without further ado, this has been enough of an introduction. Let's get on with this video, and I hope you enjoy. So this is Blood of Silver, chapter 2. She heaved the rusty door open and saw a large, low-ceilinged room. Inside were at least 30 what Jo presumed were travellers. They all appeared so futuristic and alien. The two were interrupted by a strange noise that the Doctor had heard too many times. It was strange and repeated itself a few times every second. Clank, clank, clank. It was strange, a mixture between a clank and a thud, like a robot, like a machine. Cyberman, the Doctor shouted, as the door flew open. It wasn't a Cyberman that emerged, but a haggard old man, at least 80 years old. He was tall, but stooped over, and walked with a limp on his left foot. His eyes seemed once green, but were now glazed over with a silvery colour. His crinkled face smiled at the sight of the two visitors, but then turned fearful as he saw the Doctor, his sonic screwdriver pointed at the man, Jo Grant standing next to him, cowering. Dreadfully sorry, the Doctor spoke sheepishly, pocketing his metallic red device, still breathing rather heavily. Jo was still cowering beside the Doctor, anticipating some dreadful robot or monster or worse. No, it's fine, the old man shouted, walking over to a wooden table a few paces away, a mahogany silver-tipped cane clutched in his bony hand. My name's Abraxos, nice to meet you. He reached out a hand to the pair, and promptly shook Jo's and the Doctor's hands. I apologise, Abraxos, the Doctor spoke laughingly. We didn't mean to frighten you. I thought you were an enemy of mine. Anyway, he continued, strolling over to a pair of the nicest looking travellers. We'd like to rent 2 travellers for 1 hour, if that's okay. Indeed, Abraxos said. That will be 60 akats. A frustrated look flashed across the Doctor's face. Doctor, didn't we just spend all the money at the market? Jo squeaked, managing to compose herself following the fright they'd just received. Indeed, the Doctor murmured, walking over to a nearby counter. He promptly began to empty his pockets. I'll look for a spare. After a few moments of rustling and clanging, from inside his pockets, out fell a slightly ripped and frayed £10 note, a bleached and partially faded picture of a dark-haired young woman who Jo presumed was one of his companions, a thin wooden recorder, and, finally, a circular band of metal fragments. Snapping 8 segments of the band off, the Doctor passed them over to Abraxos' calloused hand. Keep the change, the Doctor announced politely. You seem like a decent person, Abraxos. Thank you, Abraxos gleefully cheered, his silvery eyes seeming to devour the money he held in his crinkled hands. Let's get you two on some travellers then. Yes, Jo cried, running over to the 2 rows of travellers and slipping in between them, towards the reddish-brown tarnished door. The Doctor stood beside her, eagerly awaiting the experience. Meanwhile, Abraxos hobbled over to 2 of the travellers, and placed 3 of the metallic pieces in each. They instantly both hummed to life and rose out of the ground, their screens displaying a blue interface. After tapping some buttons, the machines hovered over to Jo and the Doctor, both awaiting eagerly. "It's fairly simple," Abraxos explained. "The controls, I mean." Meanwhile, Joe and the doctor hopped onto their travellers, climbing over them, and were elevated a good 6 feet off the ground. "That bar there," he continued, "controls direction. Tap the end, and your traveller will instantly go 45 degrees to the left or right. But you're going to steer. I'd recommend sliding your finger along it." "How do we start them?" the doctor asked, his eyes surveying the complex screen in front of him. His eyesight definitely wasn't what it used to be. "That big button at the top, the one that says start." Joe chuckled slightly. "Apologies, Sir Braxos, my eyesight isn't what it used to be." "Indeed, 700 is old, even for a Time Lord, Doctor." "Sorry?" the doctor interrogated, eyes flashing with panic and fear. "I said that the acceleration is controlled by the vertical bar on the right-hand side of the screen," he repeated, taken aback by this intimidating attitude of the doctor's. Joe looked left to the doctor, wondering what was wrong. "I think that's everything," Abraxos announced, plodding over to a nearby lever on the wall, next to the rim of this door. One grunting movement later, and the door revealed, well, to say it was a nice view would have been an understatement. Asteroids and meteorites, colossal and minuscule, lay scattered around them. They were of varying colours, also, undoubtedly filled with precious gems and metals. The lights of the red sun shined off them, sending brilliant colours refracting everywhere, and the sun itself was gargantuan. Even the doctor, having been here time and time again, seemed taken aback by its sheer size and power. It was swirls of yellows and oranges and reds and browns, all mixed in, storms scattering the surface. It covered over half of both Joe's and the doctor's views, and they both even had to squint a little, eye ducts filling with water. "That, Joe," the doctor spoke softly, "is Akaten. It is one of the largest stars in the universe, and we're 7 billion miles from it. The old god resides in there, and, annually, a chosen Akatenian female known as the Queen of Years lulls him to sleep." Joe didn't respond, her eyes filling with wonder and joy and colour and imagination at simply seeing this. The doctor was suddenly overcome with a wave of sadness, because at that instant he knew that this would be it, their last alien world, and he would make it count. "Enjoy your ride," Abraxas spoke, also gazing into the immense star. As if on cue, the doctor and Joe pressed the blue buttons on their screens, set the speed to 50 kilometers per hour, and set off into the distance. Joe clutched the worn handlebars of her traveller, staring at Akaten, the star. Wind raced through her short blonde hair, and surges of adrenaline travelled through her as she and the doctor moved their traveller's speeds up to the maximum, 100 kilometers per hour. The doctor seemed like he was having an incredible time. His arms were spread out like an eagle's, his grey hair whipped backwards. His green velvet jacket was unbuttoned and flapped about because of his speed. "Doctor," Joe shouted, trying to be heard over the humming noise of the travellers and the cosmic winds surrounding them. "Where are we headed?" He moved his left arm forward and raised a crinkled index finger, pointing to a nearby asteroid. On it resided a white, marble-like temple. It was pyramid-shaped, and had steps leading up to its summit, where a silvery beacon sat, spraying white liquid and fumes into the air. "I've never seen that before," the doctor remarked, looking slightly concerned. "I'm sure it's nothing, but I'd still avoid it if I were you. Anyway, that over there is known simply as the Temple. It's a sacred place for worshipping the old god. I thought we'd have a visit. What do you say, Joe?" Joe sat white-knuckled on her traveller, her face gaunt and her eyes glazed with a silvery colour. Just like that salesperson. The doctor glanced over to her silver bracelet, and then recalled Abraxos' silvery eyes. Suddenly, everything began to click into place. "Joe, are you okay?" "No, doctor," she squeaked quietly. I don't feel so good, actually." Suddenly, she slumped down in her seat, slid off her traveller, and plunged into the abyss of the rings of Akaten. But as she was falling down, the doctor didn't immediately notice Joe, or her still driving traveller, but the poisoned silver apple that had one bite taken out of it. "Joe!" the doctor shouted, dived off his traveller, and fell into the cosmos as well. So there we go, that is Blood of Silver Chapter 2, I hope you enjoyed that. A very, very intense final scene in there, and yes, honestly, I really enjoyed writing this. It's so much fun doing these, honestly. I really like all of these videos. So yes, I hope you enjoy this, everybody. Feel free to share your opinions on this chapter in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it, and also, yes, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm nearly on 50 subscribers, as I said, and enough of that. So next chapter is going to come, I don't really know. There's going to be at least a chapter a week though, if that helps. At the very minimum, one per week, but there will be more than that, trust me. And actually my next video is going to be later tonight. Actually, I'm filming this currently, it's around 6 o'clock, and straight after this I'm going to do another video I prepared this morning, and it's basically going to be called News of Who 1. I'm doing a new series of videos called News of Who, and it's basically just kind of telling everyone about the latest Doctor Who news and my opinions on it. This will, just a little bit of a teaser, involve the new Series 8 The Collection box set, the new Revolution of the Daleks trailer with Captain Jack, and also the new Dalek series that the Doctor Who YouTube channel is publishing. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this video, everybody. I hope you look forward to my next video, probably being published around 8 o'clock, and I will see you then. Goodbye.